What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Week 2 sell high candidates. In this video, I'll be going over some of the players you should be looking to trade away because their current value is higher than it should be. One tip I want to share about trading before we start is to be smart. And I know that sounds obvious, but you wouldn't believe how many trade offers I've received from people who clearly never looked at the needs of my team before sending the trade. If you're trying to trade for Miles Sanders, who's a player I would be trading for, then don't be offering a tight end to a team with Kelsey or John Ross to a team stacked at wide receiver. Identifying players to trade for is one step, but then you need to figure out what that team needs because they're going to place a higher value on positions that they're lacking. Value is about scarcity. So all of the players I'm going to talk about currently have a higher value than they should, but they'll have an even higher value if you target teams in need of that position. So now that you're all trade masters, let's start things off with Mark Ingram. Like I said before the season started, Mark Ingram is going to be on the Week 3 sell high video. That remains true, but he also makes the list this week as well. The Ravens get to open the season against the Dolphins and the Cardinals, which are likely going to be the two best matchups for fantasy this season, and especially at the running back position. I'm not expecting another 59-point explosion by the Ravens, but the Cardinals are the best pace-up matchup of any team, and they have a bottom 5 defense. Mark Ingram is going to have another great week. So if you own him, you're starting him. But I'd be looking to shop him right now, and especially so after this week. Because what we saw on Sunday confirms our concerns with him. He played on just 32% of snaps, which you could argue was due to the blowout, but he did receive a fourth quarter carry, and he would have still been under 50% had the game been closer. He had exactly 0 targets in the receiving game, which is something we can expect to continue going forward. He is not going to catch more than a handful of footballs this year. That's a massive blow to his fantasy value and really lowers his weekly floor. The Ravens also had 15 carries inside the red zone this week, with Ingram handling 4 of those. Well, we can't expect 15 every single week, and it's concerning that Ingram only had 3 less than Gus Edwards. This is a similar situation to what I talked about yesterday. Let's say you own Mark Ingram, and you can't get a trade done this week, but you can start trade talks. He's gonna go off again. So if you're starting these talks with a team and then they see him go off, they're much more likely next week to continue those talks and get him on the roster, especially if you're smart and you're doing these trades with a team in need of running back. The only other running back that's being really overvalued right now is Ekeler. That isn't to say you should just give him away because he has a really nice role in the team. He does rank second in this week's sell high model because of his receiving production, and he obviously overperformed. 154 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns on 18 touches, good for a little over 2 fantasy points per touch. That's going to come down. No one's going to debate that. But he did dominate the snap share, and 8 of his 18 touches were considered high value. So while he won't be doing this every week, he's still going to be good. The thing about him is, let's talk about his future, right? Because Melvin Gordon is expected to return around mid-season. So assuming they don't get a trade done, he's coming back at some point. And when that happens, Ekeler's going to be more of a flex play. Still viable. They're still going to use him, but much more of a flex play, not the number 2 overall running back that he is now. So if someone's willing to give you running back 1 value, even if it's low-end running back 1 value for him, then I'd take it because he's not going to do that every week. And there's a chance Gordon comes back in a little under 2 months, and that's going to really hurt his value at the end of the season, which are the most important weeks. Well, let's move on to wide receiver. We'll talk about T.Y. Hilton. This one pains me a little bit because I like Hilton, and I think the public is lower on Brissett than they should be, but he was hyperly efficient this week, and Brissett only threw the ball 27 times, even when they were trailing for a good chunk of the game. So this should have been a game where we see a spike in Brissett's passing volume, but it wasn't. This team has a great offensive line. It looks like they're going to lean more run heavy with Brissett as more of a game manager. That's never good news for the team's elite wide receiver. He still posted 8 for 87 and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets, but it was on just 67 total air yards, which barely cracked the top 50, and he did have those 2 touchdowns, which are going to boost his fantasy points and aren't something that's typical. T.Y. Hilton isn't someone who's in the 10 touchdown range every year. He's much more towards 5 or 6. He didn't show up in this week's sell high model, which indicates to me that his targets were higher value, and I get it if you want to hold on to him because he's still a great wide receiver and you probably got him at a pretty nice discount and you're happy with his production. Also, the Chargers aren't pushovers on defense, so we can expect him to be productive this year. But don't expect that sort of production, and if someone's willing to give you high-end wide receiver value, take it. Next is Alshon Jeffrey, and I love the Eagles' offense this season, and I think Jeffrey is a really nice fit in it, but he definitely overperformed this week. He scored 19.6 half PPR points on 6 targets, gaining 5 for 49 and a touchdown through the air while adding a rushing touchdown. The rushing touchdown wasn't actually like a rush attempt. It was just a short pass that happened to go backwards. But this offense just really spreads the ball around so much that he's only going to see 5 to 7 targets every week. And so if he's only going to be converting 4 or 5 of those into receptions, that's still overly efficient and he's still going to be very touchdown reliant. They have Ertz, Jackson, Aguilar, Goddard, Sanders, Howard, Sproles, all taking work, and they want to get J.J. Arcega-Whiteside involved this season as the season progresses. Alshon's a great wide receiver, and he's on a great team, but the targets are just so spread out that he's going to need a very positive game script and have to score, which both happened this week, but we can't expect that to happen every week. So another situation, we're not dumping him, but you can probably get pretty nice value for him right now, and I do that. The last wide receiver I'm going to talk about is really a group of wide receivers. I'm going to lump all these waiver wire or end of year bench players into one unit here. We've got John Ross, 7 for 158 and 2 touchdowns. Marquise Brown, 4 for 147 and 2 touchdowns. Dorsett, 4 for 95 and 2 touchdowns. DJ Chark, 4 for 146 and a touchdown. McLaurin, 5 for 125 and a touchdown. Danny Amendola, 7 for 104 and a touchdown. All these guys went off, and it's possible that was the best week for some of these players in the entire season. So if you added or already owned one of these players, then it's not a bad idea to use them as trade bait. Maybe not one-off, maybe you're not sending just Danny Amendola, but if you can package them together with someone else, I love 2 for 1. You always want to be getting the one player in a 2 for 1 trade. So if it's Danny Amendola plus a bench running back or a bench tight end or something that the other team needs to get an upgrade at wide receiver or an upgrade at another position, that's what I want to be doing. I feel the best about Ross, Brown, and McLaurin keeping up their production. They're not going to finish even close to averaging what they just did, but I feel best about their roles in their respective offenses, that they can continue being fantasy relevant. But if someone in your league is willing to trade for these players for nice value, you gotta do it, because they're not gonna have 100 and multiple scores every week. At tight end, I really only see 2 possible trade high candidates. Remember, the tight end position isn't overly deep, and it's not like that many players who we don't expect to be going off did. We've got Austin Hooper and Delaney Walker, really the only 2 I see. So Walker did end up making this week's sell high model, which you can see at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. So he did overperform the volume he was given this week. He was in on only 48% of plays, but managed to convert 2 fourth quarter touchdowns, which was aided by Baker Mayfield's 3 fourth quarter interceptions. He wasn't an every down player, and this is still the Titans. They're not going to score 43 points a week. So he's someone I'd maybe be looking to trade away. Austin Hooper as well saw a bit of a spike in production. He had 5 receptions come in the fourth quarter when the Falcons were just trying to not get blown out. We can't expect Matt Ryan to throw 18 fourth quarter pass attempts every week. So while I think he does finish the season as a low-end tight end 1, he did just go 9 for 100, and I'm sure there are some people out there that are going to overvalue him. So I think if you can afford to lose him, I'd trade him away. At quarterback, let's be honest, deals never get done at the quarterback position. People typically draft quarterbacks they like, and there are so many on free agency that no one wants to give up a real asset for them. If you can find someone that's willing to do so, then do it, but it's really tough and it's typically just not a good fit for both teams. The ones that I'd try to be trading away, if you can pick them up on free agency or if you already had them, are Dak, Stafford, and Dalton. Maybe someone out there has Cousins or Rodgers, Big Ben, Baker, Trubisky, Winston, Newton, one of those guys that underperformed, and they're willing to do a deal to either get a second quarterback or to maybe dump the quarterback they had and get the new one. Honestly, I wouldn't count on this happening, but if you want to try, then go for it. I don't think Stafford's going to repeat this stat line moving forward, and I'd expect him to be a free agent, honestly, in a few weeks. But both the Cowboys and the Bengals did actually surprise me with how well they went with play calling. So I do expect those offenses will succeed moving forward. But like I said, deals with quarterbacks never seem to get done. But those are two guys that, although I expect them to be good in the future, had monster weeks, so maybe you can flip them for something nice. So those are the players you should be looking to trade away since their market value right now is higher than it should be. Remember, you shouldn't be sending trade offers to random teams. Do your homework and make smart trades. But also, I want to point out that these are the players being overvalued, but I don't think you need to dominate every trade. If you're weak at running back, you can still make fair trades to upgrade that position. You don't always need to be trading away players that are overvalued. The best trades are ones that benefit both teams. So even if you have a player that you think is going to be good this year, if it benefits your team to get rid of them to upgrade a position you're weak at, you should do it. Also, if you want to view a larger list of the players that overperformed or underperformed this past week, you can check it out at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But that's the end of this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? If you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.